Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of our NASCAR 21 Ignition Career Mode here on the channel. Today, we go racing at Phoenix Raceway, a short track here on the schedule. Now, as I can tell you, after last episode, the hopes were pretty high coming into this race, as we didn't have, of course, a great race. We won, by the way, in Las Vegas, but the actual racing product wasn't great, but it was certainly the best we had seen so far in the NASCAR 21 Ignition game. So the hopes were pretty high coming into this episode. Certainly, I'll say definitely didn't live up to the hopes, I don't think, to say the least here, as we get ready for some practice qualifying and whatnot here. Now, our legacy now is up to 25 years. You see me just looking through the whole legacy screen, seeing some interesting names like Ryan Sieg, Matt Tifft on there for some reason. Nonetheless, though, like I said, time to focus on the actual Phoenix Raceway. No trucks or Xfinity in this one. I didn't buy the new Phoenix track yet on iRacing, but once I do, it'll be here probably for later in the season. Still on the second patch of the game, by the way. Patch number 3 has not come out, and patch number 2, the more I play it, the more I see that there is still a absolute ton of work to go to make this game even in a decent state. So definitely, like I said, motorsport games, they're doing a good job getting patches out, but they still have a lot of work to do. I certainly know that third patch won't even get this game to being halfway there to being in a state that it should be. So nonetheless, though, focusing on the practice session. So for this episode, I started out racing with a wheel on my Thrustmaster TMX, but I ended up finding it so unplayable with a wheel, specifically at Phoenix Raceway, that for the actual race, I had to switch over to my Xbox controller, unfortunately. So you're going to see me using the third person perspective in the actual race here. Now, as we would roll out in practice here, out of the garage area now behind Michael McDowell in that front row number 34 car here, a really nice garage area. Phoenix, of course, had that big overhaul when they originally, I think, rebranded to ISM Raceway. Now it's just back to Phoenix Raceway. But you can see I was dealing with this just weird driving issue here where the car was just doing this the whole time I was on the wheel. It didn't matter what setup I used. I was on the tightest setup at this point, and it was still doing that. So I knew I was going to have to switch over to a controller probably here, but I still wanted to at least attempt qualifying on my wheel to see if we could kind of maybe get a handle with the just way the car drives on the wheel. It's so weird, and it's just so poorly done so far, with just a handling model for steering wheels and whatnot. So another thing that needs to be fixed here now as we would get ready for our qualifying effort. So Phoenix, I think back to NASCAR Heat 5, one of the tougher tracks on the schedule for that. It's hard to qualify well, it's hard to race well, unless you're using a full-on custom setup. So I didn't really know what to expect here for this one in specific. Obviously, we cannot even use a custom setup. So I was expecting to be qualifying towards the back of the grid, to be honest with you guys here. So anything, honestly, 30th and above, I would consider to be a win at this point here now as we come through to start our qualifying effort. We get 2 laps here in Phoenix around this track here to try and qualify the best we can. So we start our qualifying effort, and this, like I said, was still on the wheel here, and actually got through the track pretty well. And I noticed, I don't know what it is, but I have to turn ABS on, the anti-lock brake system assist, because whenever you tap the brakes, it doesn't matter how much input I'm putting in on my brake pedal with NASCAR 21 Ignition on the wheel, it just locks up the brakes for no reason, no matter what. So that makes 0 sense, so I had to, of course, turn that on as well. But we end up qualifying on pole. I don't know how that happened, but we beat Kyle Larson by nearly 0.2 of a second. So a very shocking qualifying effort, to say the least, now as we're going to get ready to send it off to Alex Hayden at MRN and get ready to go green.
Welcome to Avondale, Arizona for the Instacart 500. Alex Hayden here, bringing you all of the action from today's Duel in the Desert. We're expecting a lot of great side-by-side racing, and the infamous dogleg in the front stretch has given us some of the most incredible restarts in 3, 4, and 5 wide passes in recent NASCAR history. And drivers are lined up and ready to go. So let's head trackside and get those engines fired for today's race in Phoenix.
There you have the pre-show there. Now, as I can tell you that the starting order would completely change after I actually had to exit out of the game to switch to my controller and came back. So another weird thing about this game is we would get underway from the first starting position here from Phoenix Raceway for 78 laps around this track. So with no cautions guaranteed and no stages, of course, it's going to be a tough effort here in Phoenix and a long, grueling race down. I was already under attack here on this first lap down the back straightaway. Colt Custer to my outside. He's going to get clear for the lead as we go down into turn 3 and actually get hit in the back bumper there in the left rear quarter panel, even by Kyle Busch there, the two-time Cup Series champion from 2015 and 2019 there. So he was able to go through. I wasn't the most thrilled with getting punted by Kyle Busch on just the first and opening lap, but actually sailed up the inside of him, and then I just couldn't get that car slowed down here now. So we continue side by side on the exit of turn 2, some contact again with the 18 there as I kind of came down into him now, but we were quickly off the pace, losing ground here now as we are already down to 5th place. Hamlin, he's just going to go around the outside and blow my doors right off here now. Then it would continue. Eric Almirola on lap 3 goes around the outside. Here comes a rookie of Chase Briscoe. He would pass us. Michael McDowell, Brad Keselowski, Tyler Reddick, they would all go through on the inside. We would quickly, within the first handful of laps, fall outside of the top 10. Now we kind of stabilized here in about P11 for a few laps to come through to lap 10, and you can see we were starting to actually close in on 9th place and above as they're in an exact train following each other right there for a moment. But then Kurt Busch had run me down and he would pass me as well. So we went back down to 12th place, and then I got passed by a few more cars here of the 20 of Christopher Bell. Here comes the 9 of Chase Elliott up my inside down this back straightaway into turn 3, and then here comes William Byron as well. And so far, the racing honestly wasn't too bad. I think this time out here in Phoenix, other than the AI having this weird issue of following the same line, the AI racing wasn't bad this time around in Phoenix. What was really hurting the experience was the actual driving model of the cars just being so weird with the controller or a wheel. It didn't matter what I did. It was just the car was driving so weird that it was really holding back on the experience here. So the AI felt pretty decent. You can see we're having good battles here, going 3 wide there for a brief moment. Now is the 20 of Christopher Bell. He's able to get back out in front side by side with Kurt Busch there on the exit of turn 2. Then I actually take him and Almirola 3 wide here now on lap 17, and we're up inside the top 10 again here now as the longer this run goes, the more this car was starting to kind of play into my advantage. And I noticed this in the last episode in Las Vegas where we actually won, obviously only because of field strategy, but the longer the run went, the better we got compared to the AI. So it seems like the AI definitely have a lot more fall off than the player on the long run here now as I was up the inside of your 2012 NASCAR Cup Series champion of Brad Keselowski. Some contact right there, and that's simply due to the weird handling of the car. It for some reason likes to just lose grip on a straightaway and then try to spin directly into the outside wall. So you really got to be ready to catch that there. And fortunately, we had a car door outside to kind of combat that now as we continue, though, on this journey towards the front here now up into P7, passing Colt Custer and that number 41 car. Then we would pass Eric Jones, who's having a really good start to this race there, but Joey Logano was quickly following me through this traffic and now lunges up my inside. Second time we made contact with our NASCAR Heat 5 rival. Then the 43 actually some contact with him. We got into the outside wall, and a bunch of progress we worked over the first 21 laps to gain has been wiped now as we're back down to P11 behind Elliott, Keselowski, and that 20 of Christopher Bell. But we're not wasting any time, already up the inside. They, for some reason, even on the hardest difficulty, check up a little bit through that dog leg area now. So we're going to actually slide into the 9 of Elliott there. Now it's so hard to get these cars slowed down, which I've noticed is specifically due to the controller on the wheel. It actually slows down really well for the most part now. So another weird thing I've noticed here now is they'll be able to once again pass Chase Elliott, move back up into P7, and continue on with our day. So far, a really weird race to say the least, just for myself here, going up and down, or back and forth I should say, and then back again, and now we're going forwards once again. We run down Kyle Busch on lap 28 here and actually pass him with help from a lapped car. Brendan Gaughan, lap traffic in full swing at this point here in the race. I actually slowed up when I got to Kyle because I was hoping to punt him, but obviously worked out even better for us to just easily pass them now. So go up the inside of Tyler Reddick as well as William Byron, as they are struggling hard with passing these Rick Ware Racing cars. Then you got the 66 as well of Timmy Hill here on the exit of turn 2. We clear Cody Ware, and then we were trying to now set our sights on third place of Joey Logano. Chase Elliott had moved up into P5, and then it was Reddick down to P6 or 7 as Byron and him were battling it out here on lap 31. But I'm over here doing my best to run down that 22 of Joey Logano here. And, we're in this mid-race kind of portion at this point here, and no stages in the game, no cautions that really like to come out very often. So it feels weird just not really relying on a caution to kind of base your strategy on and whatnot here. And hopefully with some patches that'll of course be patched into the game with stages and cautions and whatnot, as I would expect them to be. I don't think it could go the whole game without the actual race format in your NASCAR game. So now though, with some help from Joey Logano's teammate being so slow of Austin Cindric, I was able to actually pass that Pennzoil number 22 Ford Mustang. So up into third place we go. We're having a really good middle part of this race here now, and obviously don't really know what to expect with the pit lane at this point now with the strategy there, but I noticed the fuel light had not come on yet, and we're almost halfway through this race already and the fuel light has not come on. So we've seen at the Daytona Road Course we were able to make it to about 2 laps to go in that race before we pitted, and at Las Vegas we were able to go about halfway in that race. Now there was some contact with the 15 of Davison there, but the fuel strategy is not consistent, or the fuel wear I should say, is not consistent anywhere. I don't know how Motorsport Games programmed it, but it's completely different every single track here, because I was realizing at lap 45, because the fuel light had not come on yet, we're past halfway, we can probably go to the end of this race without pitting. So very, very confusing with how they did that. Now as we were running down now, Ryan Blaney here on lap 47 for second place. Denny Hamlin out in front in that FedEx Toyota Camry here as we exit turn 2. We're closing in on Blaney quite well, and the lap traffic certainly helps. Now as we actually have that moment I was talking about earlier, the car just for some reason kicks out to the right, and I couldn't really save at that time. Immediately I noticed issues as soon as that happened right here. I wasn't even touching my analog stick for until I got past the line, and the car was turning left by itself. You can see it right there. So I knew immediately we are in trouble here, because that's going to affect us for the rest of this race, because we know we're not making a pit stop at this point here. So and I also had a lot tougher of a time getting the car slowed up in corners and getting it to actually turn, especially towards the exit of a corner and maybe the center of the corner as well. So it was just now at this point, nurse this thing home for 28 more laps, just try to get the best result we can and hopefully not lose any positions. But Joey Logano was starting to close in pretty quick here. You can see how much I'm having to slow the car down there in the entry in middle of the corner just to get it to turn at this point here now. So a very frustrating moment there as the car did it again right there. I don't understand what causes it here, but we continue to just try and fight, and we somehow run down Ryan Blaney, who just cannot pass lap traffic, and we're going to be right on his back bumper on the exit of turn 4. I got so tight right there that I decided to just go to the outside instead of the inside. Some contact with the 42 of Chastain, and then the car's just all over the place here now as I'm going to go to the inside though and pass that Chip Ganassi Racing driver, go up the inside of that 34 of McDowell there as Blaney gets clear. Now we're side by side, the back end kind of kicked out right there, got me into that side there of McDowell, but you can see just how all over the place this car was at this point. Just over 20 laps to go as well here now in Phoenix Raceway, and here comes Joey Logano up the inside as I just pushed up so hard on the exit of turn 4. I tried to cross him over right here as we went down this front straightaway towards turn 1, and it looks like we might actually be able to complete that pass back on him. A bit of a slide job right there just in front of that 22 car. He's going to cross us over, go up the inside, but on the exit of turn 2 couldn't quite pull it off. But then a few moments later on lap 57 on the exit of turn 2, Logano finally gets the opportunity to get past me, but I would just continue to follow him, and we run down his teammate again. Ryan Blaney is lap traffic again in full swing. I'm going to take a 3 wide down into turn 3 with Logano in the 17. Some contact right there with Busher. Fortunately, we don't end up getting hooked into the outside wall there, as we're going to be 3 wide again, cutting that dog leg there, putting Bubba Wallace a lap down, and P21 Hamlin still well out in front here as we send it up the inside of Blaney. There's going to be contact 3 wide. We're going to get hooked into the outside wall, head on into the outside wall there as we're going to crash, and no caution comes out. We just went head on into the outside wall, and of course a caution should be out in any normal scenario on the planet right there, but it's NASCAR 21 ignition. We don't have that. So I did a really quick thought. I said, you know what? The car is still drivable. I'm going to lose less time just nursing this thing around the track for the rest of the race compared to actually coming into the pit lane and fixing the car. And I had attempted to record this race a couple of times already. And when I went down to the pit lane one time, my car actually decided instead of it going into the pit box, it wanted to actually hit the pace car. And it just did burnouts on the back of the pace car for about 5 to 10 minutes. So I refused to go into the pit lane at this point here now, as I got passed by Tyler Reddick, who would go around me here now as I'm struggling so hard just bringing it home. The car is trying to turn itself head on into the inside wall, and it likes to try and spin out to the right. And then of course we got so much damage here as well now as Martin Truex Jr. is up my inside there. You saw I tried to kick out right there to the right through the dog leg. That would have been head on into the wall, and it would have not felt so good. So now to lap 69, nice here, less than 10 laps to go at this point on lap 72. And now you can see Truex and Reddick again dealing with lap traffic, and even with my car being down on horsepower, absolutely totaled, the lap traffic is keeping us in this race. But even then, when we were in a clear track, the cars behind me weren't closing anything. There was once again, it did that little pull to the right, and we ended up hooking ourselves there across the front bumper of the 66 now as we come through to the final few moments of this race there, right to the back of that Motorsport Games number 78 of BJ McLeod. I just decided to move him. I said, get out of my way. We're 3 wide, making contact down the dog leg with 3 laps to go. Then to 2 laps to go here in Phoenix, we have once again managed to run down Tyler Reddick. I just sailed it off into turn 1 at this point here, and it somewhat stuck here now as we are going to be side by side with the 10 of Almirola. We're going to be 3 wide in the middle actually with these 2 Ford drivers, one for Stuart Haas, one for Penske Racing there on the outside of Cindric as I sail it off again into turn 3. Reddick's trying to do exactly what I did, and he went 3 wide middle, but I pushed up so hard on the exit of turn 4 that Reddick is able to just cruise by. In that point, obviously it's just because I damaged the car so much. It's just such a tough time as this final lap is underway. At this point, I'm just sending it into every corner, just trying to get whatever I can get here before this race comes to a close. Sliding through the center of the corner and the exit of turn 2, Denny Hamlin, who may have dominated this race, actually does not win the race. It was Joey Logano in the number 22 car winning here in Phoenix. As we come through out of turn 4, Truex is going to get to our back bumper just about, but it's not going to be enough. It's going to be a 7th place finish here at Phoenix Raceway. I don't even know what to say about that one. The AI in this one actually wasn't terrible. They were actually enjoyable for the most part to race. There was definitely some flaws here and there, but what really hurt it this time was just the actual car handling, and it didn't make sense. It didn't matter what I was using, a wheel or a controller, there was something just off with the handling the whole length of that episode there. So very frustrating with that, dealing with that, but we managed to make it work, and we got through so far in my opinion, the toughest race of the season at Phoenix Raceway. So I feel like if I can get through that, or if you guys can get through that, you can get through just about any track in this game at this point here. And then the next one we go to Atlanta, so I'm excited for that. As always, if you guys enjoyed, you know what to do. I'd like to thank you all for taking the time of your day to watch this episode, and of course want to say thank you to the Going Racing members of MJ, Joseph 9001, Timothy Arline, Hayes Gaming, Brett Durward, Dark Gengar Gaming, AJ Vasur, Russell Dixon, Kenneth Barnett, Dana 9302, Speed Demon 341, Ellis Emery, D Muzzy 65, as well as Joe Brett. I appreciate you guys' support so much, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day, everybody.